Hello everybody, welcome back to Gentoo.
We're your favorite place for all things gaming and tech related.
I'm your host, Gabe Chadwick.
And I'm your other, more handsome host, Evan Saxton.
That's a debatable fact, but you know what isn't debatable?
What's that, Gabe?
That it's time for patch notes.
Well, let's get right into it.
We talked about loot boxes being reintroduced to Overwatch last week, but we've got some updates on them now. In Season 15, they have changed all epic souvenirs that you were able to receive from loot boxes are all rare quality now, ensuring players are able to receive them at a higher rate than they would normally. I really don't get it though. If they're supposed to be epic, a rarer quality, wouldn't making them more common make them less interesting to receive? I guess if everything is rare, nothing is rare.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
DayZ, the classic zombie apocalypse survival game, has gotten a big update, adding in new expanded cities, towns, and villages, along with several bug fixes and changes, including new footstep audio for different locations, and you'll now be able to hear your character's teeth chattering if exposed to the elements for too long.
Epic has announced that they will be shutting down the servers for Fortnite's Ranked No Builds, due to, quote, matchmaking health. The server populations for Ranked No Builds has been low for a while, so Epic has made the decision to just cut it all together.
2025 has been a rough year already, but even rougher for gaming and animation studios. Technicolor, the long-lasting giant of VFX and animation, has completely imploded. Operations in the US have completely ceased, filed for administrations in the UK, and its studios in Paris is on the brinks of total collapse. But it's not just bad for them. Warner Brothers, having already shut down Multiverses, their Super Smash Bros. Competitor, has also shuttered 3 of their game studios: Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Bros. Games San Diego. If this is how the year is starting, I worry for the rest of the year.
Yikes, that does sound rough. And speaking of gaming studios, Activision has admitted to using generative AI to build certain aspects of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Due to a new update to Steam requiring all games that used AI in the development process at any point to disclose the fact, many were surprised to see the Steam page of Black Ops 6 include that very disclosure. While Activision has not responded to comments on what exactly they use their AI for, many speculate that the awkward-looking calling card banners were generated using AI.
In other Call of Duty news, players using pay-to-cheat third-party software to, cheat in Call of Duty were exposed to a phishing scam. The scam in question would install malware alongside the pay-to-cheat software that would then access the user's Bitcoin or cryptocurrency wallets and drain them of their funds. Well, they did sign up for pay-to-cheat, they just ended up paying a lot more than what they thought they would. I'm not saying they deserve it, but hey, cheating is lame, man.
Alibaba, Temu's cousin in cheap drop-shipped items available across the world, has unveiled its own AI model free for public use. Looking to capitalize on the waves DeepSeek made when it released, Alibaba hopes their Yuan 2.0 model will be able to join the ranks of successful AI models like ChatGPT and DeepSeek. Yuan 2.1 comes with all the facets you expect out of an AI model, being able to generate both video and images and respond to prompts given by the user. We will have to see if Yuan will hold up to the competition, but investors seem excited at the prospect of more competition in the AI market.
Amazon has announced Alexa Plus. Alexa Plus is an upgraded version of the now long familiar Home Assistant. Enhanced with AI, Alexa can now do so much more. She can read handwritten notes, recipes, and books and keep them cataloged for later. She will be able to make dinner recommendations or even reservations, send invites to your friends, and even read tests and quiz you back on them. Amazon even claimed that she will be able to memorize personal details about you, like your diet and movie preferences, which I'm not too sure how I feel about that, but Amazon also revealed Alexicon, small emoticons and animations that Alexa will play during conversations to, quote, provide a sense of personality. Do you guys remember that movie Her? Alexa Plus will start rolling out next month on Amazon Echo and then to other devices at a later date. And that just about wraps up the news for this week.
Make sure to leave a comment down below about what excites you the most.
And don't forget to stick around for our special guest segment. But first up, some shows.
Welcome back to Surviving Horror, where we take a look at different games in the horror genre and dissect what is the scariest aspect of each story, in my opinion. This week, we venture into the year 2508 to talk about the Dead Space remake, released in 2023, developed by EA Motive. The Dead Space series began in 2008 and became a franchise shortly after, but due to Dead Space 3 selling below expectations, the series became dormant for the next decade. After several years of the fandom crying out for something new, EA Motive gave us a remake of the original survival horror classic. In Dead Space, you play as Isaac Clarke, an engineer who travels to the USG Ishimura after all communication has gone silent, only to find that an extraterrestrial force has run rampant on the ship and its crew. Unlike the last two games I've discussed, Dead Space plays similar to the traditional survival horror game. You're stuck in a spooky location, you have weapons to defend yourself, and there is an unspeakable horror hunting you. But what makes the game different from titles like Resident Evil or Silent Hill is the setting. Dead Space occupies a subgenre of horror called cosmic horror, which plays on our fear of the unknown and threats that are not of this world. And that is absolutely the most horrific aspect of this game, having all these questions about what you are seeing and having no answer to them. How did these aliens called necromorphs invade such a massive ship? How many of them are on board? Where is Isaac's girlfriend on this ship? And is she still alive? But let's go back to those necromorphs. From the design to the noise they make, these monsters are some of the most original enemies that I've ever faced in a video game. And there are so many different variations of them, keeping the enemy variety fresh throughout the game and adding to the dread for the entirety of the story. Every time you feel like you have seen the most horrific creature you can think of, something even more grotesque is waiting right around the corner. Even with all the awesome weapons you are given throughout the game, every encounter with a necromorph is a pulse-pounding nightmare. Something that Dead Space excels at in comparison to every other horror game is its sound design. My first playthrough of this game took about 16 hours, and there was always a chilling sound effect at every turn within the halls of the Ishimura, whether that be a clash of metal, a muffled scream, or a distant crawl of one of the creatures. Adding to that sound design is the excellent atmosphere that Dead Space creates. Bodies of crewmates less fortunate than you lie scattered throughout the ship. Cryptic messages are written on the walls in blood trying to warn survivors how to take out the enemies. Even if the necromorphs didn't show up as early as they do, this game would have been just as terrifying due to the visuals alone. The Dead Space remake has only been out for 2 years, and it has already become one of the most beloved survival horror games of all time. Even though EA has canceled a sequel for the time being due to lower sales than expected, fans are still hopeful that we will get another Dead Space experience in the future. If you have played this game, please let us know what you think of it down below. Check back with us next week as we set sail to the Barra D. This has been Jake Walker with Surviving Horror.
Welcome back to the Easter Egg Collection. I am Adam Hunter, the Easter Egg Collector, and today I have picked out several Easter eggs from the game Red Dead Redemption 2. If you don't know what that game is, it is a cowboy shooter set into the Wild West era of time where you get into lots of gunfights and have to make very moral choices. Red Dead 2 specifically is a visually stunning masterpiece of a game, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Easter eggs that the developers have put in the game for us to discover. So if we will, let's go jump in and discover those. Our first Easter egg brings us to the abandoned shack in New Hangover. If you head over into the shack at around 2 a.m. in the morning and take a look around in the shack, eventually a green light should shine over you, and when you look up, there should be a UFO hovering over you. Once you go outside the shack to get a better look is when the UFO leaves. But this isn't the only UFO sighting in Red Dead 2. go out to Mount Sean in the West Elizabeth Territory at 2 a.m. and there should be a smaller UFO out in the distance. It'll hover for around 20 seconds until it disappears. In West Elizabeth, near the Little Creek River, you should come across a broken machine with ripped wings and a busted up frame with a dead man inside. This was an attempt to fly, but since Red Dead 2 is set in 1899, the Wright brothers haven't made their first successful flight until 1903. So this is a wreckage of broken dreams, or a flying machine, as Arthur puts it. After almost getting abducted and seeing a failed attempt to fly, the Easter eggs today were rather fun. Thank you for joining me on this quest through Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'll see you guys next week.
In some exciting news for Microsoft, they have claimed to create a new state of matter used in quantum computing in their newest chip, the Majorana 1. And here to talk about it, we have a Qubit.
Thank you so much for having me on, Evan. I know you guys love tech here at Gentoo. I mean, I know a lot of things considering I am a Qubit.
Wow, this isn't freaky at all, but I love the energy. So can you tell us more about what a Qubit is?
Sure, Evan. So, normally, the computers you have use ones and zeros, but us Qubits, short for quantum bit, are both at the same time and everything in between all at once. Using something called superposition, we can fill what is normally a yes and a no question with all of the information in between.
Whoa, that sounds amazing. So you guys are like really good at computing things?
Oh, Evan, you have no idea. Our computing power grows exponentially the more of us there are. If you had about 500 of us in a chip, we would have the same amount of power of a chip with about 2 to the power of 500 bits would.
Dang, that is pretty powerful. Now, would you mind filling us in on what the Majorana 1 will mean for us?
Of course, Evan. The Majorana is what Microsoft engineers have called the transistor for the quantum age. When transistors were invented, they allowed all of our modern electronics that we have now. The Majorana is the next step to becoming a quantum transistor.
Okay, but what is the Majorana chip really?
Think of it like a farm to keep all the little qubits that you gathered.
Gathered?
Yeah, the Majorana is what is called a material stack. Made of indium arsenide and aluminum, painstakingly crafted atom by atom to coax the new Majorana, that's what we're calling them, particles into existence.
So it's not like a computer chip where they take them bit by hand, but they have to coax them into existence?
It's a lot more complex than that, but that's the gist of it. But the Majorana is a huge step towards fitting up to millions of qubits on a single chip.
What happens when we get those millions of qubits?
Well, just about everything. A quantum computer that has 1 million qubits can run computations at an insane rate. What would take conventional computers hundreds or even thousands of years to compute, a quantum computer can do in mere minutes or hours.
Okay, so a lot happens when we hit 1 million.
You've got it, Evan.
So if this is the road to 1 million, how many qubits are we at right now?
8.
8?
8.
Well, that's not quite 1 million, but I guess you gotta start somewhere.
Sorry, Evan, I'm getting some quantum disturbance here. I might just evaporate from existence.
Nope, that was unexpected. Well, everybody, that was a qubit, and that was an experience, I guess. But, well, now on to some more shows.
The place for all your nerdy news. How's It Gaming?
Hello, and welcome back to How's It Gaming, the new show all about the gaming-related stories in your local area. I'm Corby Reardon, and today we're going to change things up a little bit for our next story. Instead of cutting to some pre-edited segment, we're going to have an exclusive live interview with our guest, Morgan Arthur, a Texas cowboy who's here to report on the realism of the video game Red Dead Redemption 2. So we're just going to patch him through. Hello? Am I coming through right? Yes, we can see you. Oh, good. I ain't good with this technology stuff. Oh, I understand. So, You claim to be a born and raised Texas cowboy. Is that correct?
Oh, of course. I've always been about the cowboy lifestyle ever since I was a young chap.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, we brought you on today because you claim to have some comments about the realism of the game Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hate that game.
And why is that?
Well, it claims to be realistic and really fails on almost every front.
And what fronts are we talking about in particular?
Boy, where do I even start? The guns may look well detailed, but the weight is completely non-existent. I mean, you see how easy that dang cowboy's whipping that pistol around? Ridiculous. The horses are gorgeous, but they poop way too dang much. I mean, if you're around horses as much as me, you know they do their business every few hours, not minutes. And the story? Hoo-wee, where do I even start on the story?
Hold on. What could possibly be wrong with such a well-loved story full of iconic characters?
Oh, I'll tell you. A lot. The game acts like all their characters are real people who act like humans, but they have no idea what they're talking about. They treat loss like it's no big deal. I mean, I once had to rescue my friends from a livid pack of wolves, and I thought I was gonna die of heartbreak when I thought he was a goner.
That's funny. I could have sworn that happened in the game.
And once I lost a drinking buddy of mine while trying to escape from the law. We failed a bank heist, and they gunned him down right in front of me. He was a young feller, too. Really heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah, that again seems like a part of the game.
This one time I had a traitor in my group who was trying to take me and my buddies down, and I thought the Pinkertons were my only enemies. Well, that and the law.
Hey, I hate to be that guy, you know, with you being my guest and all, but I feel like you might be lying to me.
Nuh-uh.
Excuse me? Did you just tell me nuh-uh?
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Not like you would know.
See, now what does that even mean?
It means I'm telling the truth, and you're trying to discredit me and my struggles. My point is that this game is not realistic. They pretend to tell real stories about pain, but they've never felt that pain.
But you never felt that pain either, have you?
What are you getting at?
Oh, I think you know what I'm getting at.
Oh, you want the truth?
Yeah, I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth, partner.
Oh, so all you do is steal from famous properties and lie now. Is that right?
No, I have not told a single lie.
I believe you have, sir.
Name one thing.
Your name is literally Morgan Arthur. The main character's name in Red Dead Redemption 2 is Arthur Morgan. You couldn't have thought of a better alias?
Lucky coincidence?
I think we're done here.
No, wait!
Well, that is all the time we have for this interview. Terribly sorry about all that. I'm gonna have a long talk with production about how they even found this guy. Stay tuned for next week for our next major story. We're gonna go back to the basics. My name is Corby Raridan, and this has been How's It Gaming. Have a good one.
And that wraps up this episode of Gen 2.
We hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about your favorite show.
We'll see you guys next week.